All right, so I'm going to make a new document. I'm going to make a new document. All right, so I'm going to go to the window menu and I'm going to reset my workspace. So I'm going to go to Workspace, and I'm going to select Reset Essentials Classic. Okay, so I'm in a nice clean file. I'm going to look at my toolbar in 2 columns. I'm going to check out my toolbars over here on the right, my nested panels. I'm going to tear away the layers panel. Okay, so this is my basic file structure. So I wanted to revisit blends, and one of the things that we did not discuss last time in class was blending objects that have gradients. So we looked at objects that were different shapes, and we blended a star into a circle, for example. And we also blended different colors as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 ellipses, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing as well. Why don't you draw 2 circles or 2 ellipses? And hold Alt down. And I'm going to open up my swatch panel, tear this away, and I'm going to assign a gradient inside one of them. So I'm going to assign a gradient inside one of them. I'm going to select this object, and I'm going to assign this orange and yellow gradient in this one. Okay. And I'm going to ask you, since you've seen some of this material before, remember the gummy worm little exercise that we did? I called it a gummy worm at the end. And we used the feature where we blended one image to the other. It kind of looked like it drew or morphed one graphic into the next. Can anybody tell me where that feature is found? Where's that feature found? Under the Object menu. So if I go to Object, you're going to notice that I have a Blend submenu. And it says right there, Blend Options. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of these graphics. And I'm going to go to Object. And I'm going to select Blend. And I'm going to go to Make. Okay, so look what happened this time. So in this example, you'll notice that it did not create a smooth transition from one image or one graphic into the next. You see that? In the past, in our previous example, it blended them really well together. So let me, I'm going to make another ellipse here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this one with a solid color. I'll make a copy of this. Fill it with another solid color. And I'm going to blend this one as well. Blend, make. And you'll see that they are different. This one actually created that really lovely smooth transition. This one, how many transitions did it make in between? How many circles do you see in between them? One. So it made one transition in between the original 2 circles. So it made one transition in between the 2 original circles. This one, however, made what seems like a seamless transition. It probably made like 100 or more in between the 2 to create this illusion. You'll notice that when we go to our layers panel, both of them are blend groups. So what happened with this one? Why did this one only create one transition? Well, the software, unfortunately, is not prepared to create blends with gradients. It is prepared to make blends with solid fills. So this one worked just fine. This one did not. So you'll notice that if I go to my Object menu, I go back to the Blend submenu, there's a menu called Blend Options. There's a menu called Blend Options. So I'm going to go there, and when I open up this little window or panel, you'll notice that I have the ability to focus on what type of blend this is going to create. Now, you'll also notice that there's a little preview button. If there is a preview button, I recommend that you activate it. So that way, as you're changing the options, it's going to update automatically in your screen. So I'm going to go from smooth color and I'm going to select specified steps. So when I go to specified steps, you'll notice that this is prepared to blend with how many transitions? What's the number right there? 1. So we can see that this is the option that's controlling how many blends there are in between the shape. So we currently have 1. All right, so I'm going to use my up or down arrow. If I use my up arrow, you'll notice that it automatically changes this field to a increment. It creates a singular increment going up. And if I use my down arrow, it goes down an increment. And if I hold shift and use arrows, it does increments in 10. So I'm just going to click up a bunch of times. And you'll notice that every time I add a number, so I'm at 13, every time I add a number, you'll notice that it increases the complexity of the blend. Right? You guys see that? So if I hold shift down, it's going to do this in 10% increments or increments of 10. You'll notice eventually if I type in, for example, 200 or a little bit more than 200, it creates a really seamless illusion of that blend. So the point of this, what I'm trying to describe here, is that if we're working with blends and you want to work with a gradient, you can't rely on the default settings. If you want to work with a blend that has a gradient, you have to go to the blend area, go to blend options, and move from smooth color. You're going to go from smooth color, which is going to look like this, and you're going to go to specified steps and add a number that's appropriate to your illustration. Does that make sense, everyone? I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. You'll notice that both of the blends that I created for this example are in my layers panel. This is called the blend group. Inside of the blend group, we will see the original objects that were used to construct it. So this is my last conversation for working with blends for the course. Are there any questions or concerns about this feature? No? I just want to reiterate that this is a real fun tool. I like it a lot, but I don't really use it on a regular basis for the types of illustrations that I make. But, I think it's fun to experiment with it.